Who's your best friend? If your partner is your best friend, then you must listen to this podcast to the end. Most nice guys make their partner their best friend. They've heard it all over the internet. I want my best friend, the one person who will make everything complete. Welcome to the Nice Guy Show. I'm joined with my co host, Ari and Chuck. Guys, what's wrong with making your partner your best friend? Ari, have you ever made your partner your best friend?
Yeah, I've done that a few too many times, and I think we got to kind of define terms first, though. What is a best friend? And because I think in some cases it might be okay if your partner's your best friend if you're defining it in a particular way where you're not limiting yourself. So, like, how do you define a best friend, Faisal?
So, this is a good question. And I define my best friend as someone that I connect with and I do things that I would not do with my partner. So, for example, I would have conversations that, my experiences with my best friend that I've had, conversations that are, doesn't mean that we can't have the same kind of conversations. It doesn't mean we can't do the same stuff. It's just that I have good boundaries and compartmentalize between this is my partner. I can do everything I can do with my best friend. But what I have is distinctions between this is my partner, this is my friend. Just like I have distinctions between this is my sister, this is my cousin. They're all different people. Now I can act in different ways, or I can be, I guess, have different experiences or similar experiences. The most important thing is I have different distinctions for all of them. Now, what's your definition of a best friend? Let's go to Chuck. What's your definition of a best friend?
So I think best friend is actually a very childish term. I mean, you think about best friend, it's like you're a kid on the playground, you put your arm around a mate and you're like, this is my best friend, and we're best friends. And I don't know that I mean, why do we have this ranking of this hierarchy of friendship? Why is one friend better than another friend? And I think the reality of it is that if I look at my best friend, right? So this is the one person who serves all of my needs. That's when we start getting into trouble as nice guys. Because, like you said, Faisal, from the beginning, it's like nice guys tend to make their woman the emotional center of their universe, right? And so, and we all fall into this trap, that sort of one-itis, where we give up all of our friendships for this one particular relationship. But I have friends who meet different needs, you know. But I think that ultimately it comes down to who are the people, when something good happens to me, who are the people I want to tell? And when something bad happens to me, who are the people that I want to go to and get support? And you should probably have more than one person in that. But to get back to kind of the subject, I think that nice guys, we tend to make our partner the emotional center of our universe, which then collapses around us all the other places we go to get our needs met. And when that happens, when our partner is the problem, the source of our problem, who do we go to? Who do we turn to? Because we can't go to her, or we can't go. So I think that the idea of best friend, first of all, it's sort of like throw that idea out the window. You're not in fifth grade anymore. But who is your group of friends, and where do you get your needs met from?
Chuck, you're going to piss a lot of women off, right? Because when you go on dating apps, when you go
Welcome
on,
to my life.
yeah, you got to see that. Oh, I'm looking. You look on their profiles. That I want the one, my best friend. And I've put this on social media before as well as I've said, your partner isn't your best friend. Most women who commented were really annoyed at that fact. It's like, no, they are your best friend. And what I've heard, and as recovering nice guys, a lot of nice guys, they fall into this trap, right? They fall into this feminine narrative, my best friend. So going back to you now, Ari, Did you make your woman your best friend, your wife, or something? And was it a mistake or was it a really good idea?
I made my ex-wife my best friend. That is definitely the case. We started spending a lot of time together almost right away. Um, we had things in common, and we started doing almost everything together. And then we lived together, so there wasn't much of a boundary, and I think that's one of the issues here. When you make your wife, your spouse, your best friend, is there's just not many boundaries, and you're looking to them to meet all of your needs. Um, so I think that's going to produce or contribute to neediness, and it's actually going to push your partner away. So I think one of the uh, one of the issues here is that's core to nice guys, is that when we make our partner our best friend, we neglect other aspects of our life. We don't develop um, other types of friends. We let our hobbies go. Um, we tend to let everything else go when we make our partner our best friend. So I think that's probably the most problematic thing about it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I was going to say. So I was going to ask you guys, like, what was a price you paid for that? Making your, I did the same thing as well in my relationships. With my wife as well, ex-wife. Made her the central focus of my entire life and everything else. So my hobbies, my interest, everything else, kind of fused into her world, and what her interests were, what her focuses were, her desires were, became mine. And I didn't. I I've noticed a lot of guys do this as well, especially dads as well. When they become dads, is they stop putting themselves first, their own needs and their wants, and they're putting everybody else first. And they find themselves, they haven't got good social network, right? So they haven't got good friendships around, they haven't got good interests around. And when things do go wrong, they do find themselves breaking up, going through a divorce, and then it's a huge shock saying, where is everyone? It's quiet. And what they've done is they put the whole emphasis on it. And when there was times for, when my relationships went through some challenges time, I had no one to talk to. I was too ashamed to talk to, people about this, and plus I didn't have many, friends that I kept in connection with. So when I was single, I had loads of good friends, I kept in connect with them. As soon as I got into a relationship, like most guys do, that they just started to, not pay any more attention to their friendships. Right.
Yeah, I think that I want to go back a little bit to what you were saying, Faisal, about women getting upset when you post on there that you know your partner shouldn't be your best friend, and the reason for that, I think, is it's just an evolutionary thing where the woman, the feminine, comes from her number one need is being safety. So I want to lock down that man so that he can take care of me. So oftentimes I think what happens with guys is they're not necessarily choosing to make their woman the best friend. Their woman tells them that
Mm-hmm.
they are to make them the best friend, right? And if you have friends outside of this relationship, she gets jealous, and and she says, "You're my best friend and I want you for all to myself," and that kind of thing. And I think that because we're nice guys, we don't have the skill set or the boundaries to be able to say, "I love you and I want to be with you, but I also need my guys, or I need my, you know, whatever." And I see this happening, especially around. Remember when I was my first marriage, when my daughter was first born, she was young, and I still had some guy friends. I wanted to go out with my guy friends, and my wife was like, "You can't go out. You need to stay here with us and take care of us." And so when my guy friends are like, "Hey, you want to go out this weekend?" I'm like, I can't. And then pretty soon, guess what happens? I wake up one day, I'm 30, mid 30s, and I look around and I go, I have zero friends. I have some acquaintances, some work colleagues, but like if the shit went down, who am I going to call? And I think that was a wake up call for me, was like, I really need to have friends, like you were saying, Faisal. Who do I go to? Who do I turn to when I can't turn to my partner? And if I don't have that, then all that does is it makes my life so much more flat, and uninteresting. And as you were speaking, I thought I asked myself this question. It's like, do you want your best friend to give you a blowjob? If the answer is no, then don't make your woman the best friend.
Chuck, what you said there was spot on about, when I first got into my, first relationship, and she was very anxiously attached, any kind of separation, any kind of like hint towards, not wanting to spend time with her, sent her off in an anxious, into a lot of anxiety. And I remember early in the relationship, I had, two really good friends of mine, and we used to hang out all the time. We used to do a lot of stuff. I used to be into cars. I used to go to car shows with my guy friends all the time. And I could notice her discomfort and anxiety. So, I felt uncomfortable because she was feeling uncomfortable. So I used to invite her along. And, so she used to come with me, pretty much everywhere. And slowly, it was like getting, like, everywhere I went, she was there. And I remember early on in our relationship, I organized a boys' holiday. So there's only three of us. And she did not like that. She was really upset with that fact, right? So I did the typical nice guy thing. Rather than saying, hey, this is my time with the guys, I'm like, why don't you come along too? Right? I was so under the thumb. I was so afraid for conflict to upset her. So she ended up coming along. And my, guy was like, my guys' friends were like, it's not the best choices. But in that time, I was just I would say, not in my power. Mm-hmm. And over time, when the guys, when you're saying that, do you want to come out? Do you want to come out? I'd be like, no, because I don't want to upset her. Over time, my friends stopped asking me to come out.
Exactly.
And they're like, yeah, like my friends and people are like, oh, what's the point of asking Faisal? Like, he's never going to come out. Mm-hmm. And you see that happening, that, we start to dwindle away, find ourselves lonely as well. Ari, did this ever happen to you? Do you ever...
Well, I'm just thinking, there's a few points that have come up for me listening to you guys. One thing is what Chuck brought up, is that women tend to pull the man to be their best friend, even though that they're going to end up disliking and disrespecting you for that, for making their wife their everything. So that's something that I think is really confusing for nice guys, is that women tend to pull for this, but they don't actually want you. If they're healthy, they don't actually want you to make them their best friend. So they want you to have the strength to still have your own things outside of the relationship. So that's just a key insight that nice guys need to know. The other thing that I think you and I have talked about, Faisal, is just how much it kills attraction to spend all your time with your partner. That there needs to be some mystery, there needs to be boundaries, or it's just going to kill off the attraction. And then the last thing I was thinking that Chuck brought up earlier is that this kind of idea about having a best friend is childish. I hadn't really thought about it that way, because I have my best friends that I've known my whole life. They're these identical twins, and I've thought of myself as the third twin, which sounds pretty fused, and that is our friendship. I think the point though you're making is that there's probably something problematic about having a best friend, even a best guy friend, that you're fusing with them. You can be close with different people, like you were saying earlier, Faisal, like your sister, different people in your family. but that doesn't mean that you make them your everything. It's that one-itis is an issue. So
Yeah. One of the things good advice I got from my sister was, she's a natural socializer. She has, she makes really good connections, and she said, men really suck at this. Like she has all the moms around, and then they're all chit chatting away. And she said all the women say about the men is like they have really poor, social connections, and they have their own world, and they say, get out of our hair, go and do your own stuff, go and have your own weekends. We don't want you here all the time. And obviously that comes from a secure place, but a woman who's secure will say, go and do your own thing. And it's inspiring for us to go out, leave the cave, because a guy, if he's stuck in his cave, it's very unattractive for the women. So when a guy bends towards her, becomes over available, becomes a yes man, and that becomes incredibly unattractive, and he has nothing. One of the things I know that women find attractive is when a man is a leader of other men, other groups. That's super attractive. When she can see you walk into a room, people know you, recognize you, you're socially, like a butterfly around the room. That just turns women on. That makes them more safe, because this guy has access to a lot of good resources and people. So when guys become socially isolated, it's a big problem.
Yeah, one of the key distinctions that I like to make is, when we oftentimes when somebody says best friend, what they're implying is only friend. Especially in a relationship in the context of a partnership. This is my only source of friendship, and I think that that's where it can kind of fall apart. Oh, I can't go out with you guys because I gotta hang out with my best friend. And then pretty soon, like you said, it goes back to the isolation. But I think what we need as men is we need a lot of different kinds of relationships. And you were mentioning your twin friends, which I don't know. How do you just determine which one's the best? If they're twins, he's like.
Sounds like a complicated triangle there.
Right. But I think that one of the relationships we do need is what I would call brothers. Okay. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean a biological brother, but it's another man who is someone you can confide in. They can confide in you. And it's a very reciprocal back and forth relationship that, again, it's 3 a.m. in the morning. You get a phone call. Shit hits the fan. Who's your first call? That's your brother or your brothers. And I think what we often do is we as men fail to develop brotherhood types of friendships with other men. And as a result of that, we're left empty. It's almost like a counterbalance, like you're the feminine partner and then your masculine friends balance each other out. And I think that's what kind of keeps us balanced and healthy.
And male friends will challenge you.
Right.
Yeah, they'll push you, they challenge you. Guys, I've really enjoyed this conversation. You guys are my best friends, BFFs for life. I really appreciate you. And, I really appreciate our brotherhood as well, because, I bring some, sometimes challenges to you guys, and then you guys have your insights and vice versa. And this is the most important thing I've learned, is how important, different types of friendships you have. So, for example, I have, guys I talk about personal development and growth with, guys I talk about business with, guys and girls I talk about business with, guys I play poker with, and have different activities and sports. We need such a variety in our life. Yeah. And also we have a place for our partner as well. It doesn't mean that it's like I can only do the best friend things with my best guys. I can't do it with my partner. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you have clear boundaries and distinctions. So to be clear, guys, check out episode number, I think 32 is about neediness. I think in that one, Ari and Chuck talk about being neediness as well. You've been listening to the Nice Guy Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this with another guy who needs to hear this message as well. With that, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you on the next Nice Guy Show.
You've been listening to The Nice Guy Show with certified Nice Guy recovery coaches Ari Graff, Chuck Chapman, and Faisal Kokar. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can listen to our latest episodes and visit us on www.theniceguyshow.com. If you have any topics you'd like to hear us discuss, send us an email at support@theniceguyshow.com. Thanks for listening.